Mr. Motsepe, can
Hello,
you hear
Jeff.
me?
I
Yeah,
can
good.
hear you.
Okay, good. Can hear me. That's fine. Okay, sure.
Colleagues, good evening.
Evening.
Thank you. Right. Matlakwana, good evening.
Good evening, Chair.
How are you? Are you well?
I'm well, and you, Chair?
Very good. Thank you very much. Do you have the quorum?
We only have 6 members, Chair.
How many do we need for the
7,
quorum?
Chair.
We need 7. Okay.
Now we have 6, Chair. Mr. Murray has just joined.
Now I have 7.
Yes, Chair. Mr. Murray has just joined the meeting.
Okay. Now let me welcome the colleagues.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I am very well, thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. All right, colleagues, let's look at the agenda. It's on the screen. It provides for 7 items. But the main items, in fact, we have 3 main items. We'll be considering our 4th term fourth term program, and then take a briefing from the Defence Force Service Commission activities, from Defence Force Commission on their activities 22-23 financial year. Once done, we'll then receive feedback from the Minister of Defence on her engagement with the Defence Force Service Commission and the way forward, given the threshold status of military unions. I'm sure you'll all remember why it was necessary that the minister looks at this issue, at this matter. It's because there will be overlapping mandates between the two bodies. The union, now that it's officially recognized, and the Defence Force Service Commission. So it's critical that the minister looks at that and then determine the way forward to avoid clashes arising from the overlapping mandate, which may result to unnecessary competition between the two bodies, and possibly result to some conflictual situation. And then we deal with the minutes and then close the meeting. So these are the 3 items in the main that we will look at today. Having said that and welcomed the colleagues, let's check if there are any apologies. Are there any apologies, Nandipa?
Yes, Chair. There's an apology from the Minister and the Deputy Minister, Chair. They are attending the Lohatra fire situation in the Northern Cape.
Oh, okay. Right. And so in other words, what then becomes the item number 5? Do we drop it? Does that suggest that we drop it? Because unless there is someone designated by the minister herself to take us through that. But of course, we will check. I don't know who to establish this with. All right, there's only one apology. Colleagues, are there any other apologies that you may be aware of?
Chairperson, my hand is up. I'm presuming that you can't see it.
Yes, I can see it. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much, Chair. So noting item 5 is central to what we'll be discussing today. I'm just wondering what how much of the meeting we'll be able to proceed with. I'll look to you for guidance, but the reality is that without the ministry well represented, this promises to be a very, very short meeting then, because not most of the business that we're due to discuss will not be able to be discussed, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the line was not clear on this side. I'm not too sure it's on this side only. can you just repeat that, Mr. Reiter? My apologies, please. Let me switch my video.
Chairperson, can I maybe relay what Mr. Ryder has conveyed?
Please do, Mr. Murray.
What I picked up, thank you, Chair. What I picked up from him is that he said point 5 deals specifically with feedback by the Minister of Defence on the engagement with the Defence Force Service Commission and the way forward. Now, with none of the Minister and the Deputy Minister present, that means that there can be no point 5, because who else can give feedback by the Minister if it's not the Minister or the Deputy Minister? So that's what Mr. Ryder has conveyed and said this might be a very short meeting, because we can obviously not deal with point 5. We will have to move that out to another meeting.
Okay. Agreed. Is there a concurrence? In fact, we have no option but to do exactly that. Any objection? No objection. All right. And then let's quickly look at item number 3, our draft 4-term program. Colleagues, this is the proposed program. You have all seen it. We just have to confirm it today. So you see the 12th, which is today. We're looking at those items. And then next week is the NCOP week. Then on the 26th, is an engagement with the Department of Defense and the SNDF Chief of Human Resources on their HR strategy in the context of the JSCD's proposal for a new HR strategy to ensure a permanent exit mechanism and rejuvenation of the SNDF, sorry. And then we look to deal with the minutes. Then we take a visit on the 3rd of November, is a visit to Demen shipyards for an update on the status of Project Bureau. And then from there we move to Rheinmetall, Somerset West Campus for engagements on the status of the defense industry. That's Friday the 3rd. And then on the 9th, we come back to receive feedback on the reserve force in Daba. So the minister, as well as the chief of reserves, will be providing feedback. And then the chief of reserves will then be presenting on his view of and future plans for the reserve force over the midterm. And then we deal with the minutes. We thought we should have this item because we'll be meeting the chief.
Chair, before we move off that point, if I may.
Okay, I'll come back to you. We'll be meeting the chief of reserve for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. So it's critical that we get his plans going forward. And then we go to the 23rd of November because the 13th to the 17th of November is taking Parliament to the people. We skip that week and we go to the 23rd. There we take NCAC quarterly report, and of course feedback on outstanding matters from the previous quarter. We deal with the minutes, and then on the 30th of November, we consider our first draft legacy report and the minutes. So that then constitutes the program for the term. Mr. Reda, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just to point out that the program for next week for the NCOP, if we can just scroll back up to the top of the page, the program for the NCOP has been confirmed today, and that 16 to 19 October Provincial Week is not correct. We've already had our Provincial Week, so we are available next week. And yeah, just to make that correction, in case we want to deal with item number 5 in a separate meeting next week. I'm not sure what the Chair's opinion is, but yeah, we are available for a meeting next week, Thursday.
Okay. No, we take note of that. Thank you very much. Other than that, that NCOP taking Parliament to the people is confirmed? Because there's another week where we have nothing, because it was scheduled as NCOP taking Parliament to the people. Is it confirmed, Mr. Reiter?
No, it hasn't, Chair. The 13th to 17th is also not going to be taking Parliament to the people. We have a normal week of programming then, so that we will also be available for meetings.
Okay.
As I said, the program has literally come out in the last 15 minutes. So it can be no reflection on the staff. The staff were working with the information they had available to them at the time. But the program, there was a programming meeting this morning, and they have just confirmed the program in the last few minutes.
Okay. No, then it's fine. So it means that we have to go back to these 2 slots, and let's adopt the program subject to us revisiting those 2 slots. But of course, let's comment on the program as it stands. Safe that we'll go back to the 2 slots maybe at the next meeting. Any other comment, colleagues?
Chair, yes, I think this is fairly standard. I know that we have got another meeting with the NCACC. If I can, I think it's at the end of November. Given all the challenges that we have got with the NCACC and with the separate, systems and manual systems, that being still seems to be a big problem. And how long we have been promised that, there's a concurrence system, and then we've heard, no, it's again only manual. So maybe depending on, this is at the end of the year, but that is something that we just have to, put in the back of our minds. One or other time, we will have to do an oversight at the NCACC, because clearly it seems like it's got a devastating effect on our industry. So that is just a comment that I want to bring up, so that we can flag that for whenever we have got an opportunity, maybe to look at that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Let's note that as. So when are they coming before us? 8 months later. I think now we'll have to consider that. Please take note, colleagues, Nandipa and Velem. Any other comment?
Chair.
Yes, Lekwase.
I would suggest that for today we do not adopt the program, rather we note it to allow the program to be redone with the submissions made by the colleagues, and then maybe in the next meeting we adopt it officially.
But we accept it as a working document. Agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Okay.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we accept it as a working document because it still has to be within Parliament. Otherwise, we are late for Parliament. So Parliament, we can still go back to Parliament and say we have reworked our program and resubmitting a revised program. All right. So let's then do that. I have no problem with that. Okay, thank you. So, but you would still, no, that's Willem, you want to say something?
Chair, yes, just sorry, just in terms of adoption for next week, Mr. Ryder said that there is no NCOP provincial week then. Does the committee want to meet next week then, or do we, will our actual next meeting where we consider the program be on the 26th of October then?
Comments, colleagues?
Chair,
Yes, Lekwase?
Mr. Ryder suggested that maybe next week we tackle the item 5 of today's meeting, which may suggest that we must have a meeting next week.
Okay, so we move item 5 to next week. So in other words, next week we'll have 2 items. It's item 5, which is feedback by the Minister of Defence on engagements with the DFSC, and as well as the confirmation of our program for the 4th term. Agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, colleagues, let's move forward. So we're not adopting the program, but we're accepting it as a working document. All right. Let's then move to the briefing by DFC. The chairperson of the DFC is in the meeting to take us through. Let me welcome him and the team that is in the meeting to support him. And Mr. Ian Robertson, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. And good evening, members of the committee.
Okay.
Before I start,
okay.
Can you put up the, firstly, the presentation, please? Thanks very much, Chairperson. But before I start, I see there's myself and 3 other commissioners, apart from members of the Secretariat. Can I ask each one of them, firstly with Commissioner Mabelani, can you please introduce yourself, and then Commissioner Zulu, Commissioner Esop. It seems there might be a problem.
I can come in, Chair, in the meantime.
Yeah, sure.
I hope I'm audible. Good afternoon, Chair, as well as the member of the committee. My name is Pelele Zulu. I'm the part-time commissioner. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Commissioner Mabelani? Commissioner Esop?
Good afternoon, colleagues and Chair. I'm Ziad Esop. I'm a part-time commissioner as well.
Welcome, Commissioner Esop.
Thank you for that. So 3 commissioners, including the Deputy Chair, are not present. They might join us a bit later. I'm sure they've got other work commitments. But thanks very much, Chairperson, members of the committee, for giving us an opportunity to present our annual activity report for 22-23 financial year. Next slide, please. Thank you. May I say that this the presentation together with the hard copy of the annual activity report, was circulated some time ago, so that you've had an opportunity to interrogate it. So I'm going to be fairly brief. We've developed a presentation of 25 slides. I'm not going to speak to each one of the 25 slides in detail, but let me just start with the introduction. As we can see, I think it's well known to members of the committee that we must submit an annual activity report within 2 months of the end of the previous financial year. Next slide, please. There are 5 areas, components I would like to touch on very briefly. First, governance, human resource management, financial performance information, financial information, and conclusion. Next slide, please. Thank you. Under governance, we can see that the minister is responsible for the oversight of organs of state within the department. The Commission submits quarterly performance against plans, reports on and an annual activity report according to the legislated requirements. Even though the Commission does not have any registered corporate risks on the DoD Enterprise Risk Management Register, managerial challenges such as the human resource, as the structure is recorded as such within the risk register. That means, in other words, that we find, as we indicated last year and the year before, and indeed this year, that the research component is not beefed up sufficiently. But I'll touch on that briefly a little bit later. Next slide, please. Under governance still, these are those strategic risks. We did not execute some of our planned activities during the period under review. This includes the difficulty to conduct consultative and follow-up visits to the units and bases. I must bring to your attention the aim of the consultative and follow-up visits to military bases is to pursue and determine whether the findings and recommendations that were made by the Commission in previous visits have been implemented, and to further establish to what extent similar issues had already been observed at other units and bases that could be identified. Let me say the difficulty in the year under report under 22-23 is that the turnaround time between correspondence between ourselves, the Chief of Staff of the SANDF, and the SANDF chief itself to request virtual visits to bases, that took time to sort out. However, I can say that this has been sorted out, and certainly in this present financial year going forward, we will report on those activities. And the mitigating strategy is that, and it's been alluded to when you were looking at the program, the Minister of Defence committed on 11 August a year ago, 2022, to hold quarterly meetings with the Commission as well as other key stakeholders with the aim of resolving some of the identified issues. I must say that we've been trying on many occasions to interact with the Minister. That was the last meeting we had with the Minister in August last year. Next slide, please. Operational risks. The challenge of the Commission is to effectively execute its legislative mandate is due to misaligned core structure, in other words, the researchers, and as well as the cost containment measures on the expansion and upgrading of posts by the National Treasury. The structure continues to remain problematic to render effective, efficient, and administrative support to the Commission. And as such impacts negatively on the achievement of its legislated and strategic mandates. Next slide, please. Still on governance. Still on mitigating. It's on mitigating strategies. The Commission commenced with a process of re-evaluating the structure of the Commission Secretariat with the assistance of the Directorate Integrated Management Systems to address the capacity challenges. However, the Secretariat continues to adopt the practice of double hatting as a way of mitigating the incapacity gaps. The reviewed Secretariat structure will be dependent on the approval by the Minister once it is finalised. The Commission has further requested from time to time the assistance of detached members of the SANDF with specific skill sets to augment some functions. Next slide, please. The Ethics and Code of Conduct. The Commission's Ethics Committee was established in January 2022. The role of the committee is to provide strategic direction and oversight on the ethics management on issues related to conditions of service as outlined in the Defence Amendment Act. And then the second point under that is the Code of Conduct for Public Service Act personnel employees is applicable to employees of the Secretariat, while members on detached duty and members on call-up from respective reserve force units comply with the Code of Conduct for uniform members of the SANDF. Next slide, please. Still on governance. Fraud and corruption prevention. The Commission can happily report that there were no incidents of fraud and corruption reported or investigated during the reporting period. On health and safety issues, we nominated a member of the Secretariat as the organisational health and safety representative for the Commission. The member reports all work-related hazards, etc. The Commission continued to observe all COVID-19 regulations during working hours beyond conclusion of the state of emergency. Next slide, please. So, still on governance, the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans, we did not appear before the Portfolio Committee under the period under review, but the Joint Standing Committee, we've presented findings and recommendations on succession planning, and we also, in May 2022, and we also presented our annual activity report in August 2022. Next slide, please, which relates to human resource management. The HR component of the Secretariat continues to be a challenge during the reporting period. Only 13 members are staffed, 68% to the structure of 19 posts. The current structure is not commensurate with the level of research support required by the Commission. Lastly, no reserve force members were utilised over the period under review. Continuing on the next slide. Continuing on human resource management. So we could only staff the 13 out of 19 posts because 3 posts became unfunded due to reprioritization initiated by the DoD, Human Resource, and the moratorium placed by the National Treasury on the expansion of structures. The vacant and unfunded posts are, you can see there, level 7, level 6, and level 5. The vacant posts were advertised during the reporting period under review. Those 3, Deputy Director, Provision Administration Clerk, and Senior HR Clerk. I'll go to the next slide, please, which is financial performance management information. The chairperson, in other words, myself, is responsible to ensure that all strategic and operational functions are executed within the limits of the allocated vote. The Commission manages and controls expenditure of the vote or the current allocation within the adjusted budget transparently through the Budget Control Committee meetings, which happen once a month. Next slide on financial performance information. I'm not going to go through this slide. Suffice to say that our total budget allocation for 22-23 was 15.8 million. The HR budget was 10.4 million, and the operational budget is 5.4 million. That comes to 15.8 million. Next slide, please. So continuation, we surrendered 1.6 million, which is 27.53 of the operational budget during the reporting period. We find that it's very important to rather surrender the money rather than not use it, and then when budget allocation is for the following financial year, it might penalize the commission. So we felt it's a better way to surrender monies. The following factors contributed to the amount surrendered. The difficulty, as I said, to conduct consultative visits due to the challenges experienced. I've mentioned that. Then the cancellation of the procurement process for the DFSC website, which was projected to cost 1.5 million. We've now requested that we piggyback on the DOD's website. We have a page within the DOD's website. That will be further reported in the financial year which ends in March. Then the next one is non-financial information. We used a combination of virtual platforms and physical meetings to ensure continuous interactive engagements between the Commission and strategic stakeholders. It engaged with strategic stakeholders as the Joint Standing Committee and other divisions and services within the SANDF. We did not include in this report a detailed list of all our activities. We considered that to be too operational. Next slide on financial information, please. Strategic engagements, as I said, the next slide, please, which is financial information. Thank you. The Commission adhered to this request and surrendered, as I've indicated. We surrendered 1.6 million in February, which was 90. We spent 97.97% of our budget. The next slide, please. I've gone through that slide. The next slide, please. Thank you. The DFSC did not occur any environments and rollovers during the period under review. We can report that no unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, or wasteful expenditure took place during the period under review. Next slide, please. Asset management. The main asset register for the Commission is managed by the logistics component of the Department of Defence. All required assets were captured by Defence Headquarters Unit, and the asset register, before it is distributed, quarterly and annual stock verification according to DOD time schedules, processes, and procedures is conducted to ensure that all assets are accounted for. The Commission can gladly report that no findings or discrepancies on the asset management register is for the period under review. The next slide, please. Commission does not own any public capital or infrastructure assets exceeding the amount of 500,000 rand. The Commission can report that no gifts were received. The Commission did not receive any exemptions or deviations, but complied with cost-cutting measures as promulgated by National Treasury. And then the second but last slide, please. No events, favorable or unfavorable, occurred subsequent to the finalization of this report on 31 March 2023, and had no financial effect. So the last slide and the conclusion, please, is we remain resolute in the execution of its functions, despite the experienced challenges that we have alluded to. There are possible solutions identified during the ministerial retreat to address the challenges experienced by the DFSC in execution of its functions, which would be addressed going forward. As I indicated, we have had no meetings with the minister to pursue this issue. And lastly, we thank the Joint Standing Committee for the opportunity to brief the committee on its annual activity report. And with that, I thank you, Chairperson. That concludes our annual activity report for the financial year 22-23. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A very clear presentation. Colleagues, you may want to engage with it. Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. 2 items for noting from where I'm seated. One is that they wanted to visit the
recording in progress.
Certain military bases, but due to the delay in receiving signal, the necessary signal from the chief of the SNDF, that did not happen. But he seems to suggest that that has been cleared, meaning that that activity will then be conducted in this current financial year. Maybe the question I have in relation to that is that we are already 2/3 into the new financial year. You're reporting on the 2022-2023. We're now 2023-2024 and deep into it. Has that happened? If not, when are these visits to the military bases planned? Seeing that you say that it has been sorted out. And then 2, your last meeting with the minister was in August last year. And you seem to suggest that there is a solution to address that challenge. If you may just elaborate on it, is the solution that the minister has, accepted or agreed to, that this is the solution and therefore the way forward in dealing with that aspect? And if not, how do you hope to overcome that? Because you are appointed to make recommendations to the minister on your assigned mandate. Now, if you don't have that platform, how do you then get that across? If you are able to send it in writing, do you get any feedback from her office on the recommendations that you have made to her? So those would be my 2 questions. Mr. Mare?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your presentation. In fact, my first question that I've had linked to that, what the chairperson has said, because I also wanted to ask about the so-called quarterly meetings that is supposed to be held by with the minister, which has certainly not materialized, at least for the last year. So that is a very important matter in terms of how it must be resolved. Because if that doesn't happen, then there's a vacuum, and that we know that will exacerbate all the challenges and the problems. because, Mr. Robertson, as I see the role of the Defence Force Service Commission, and that is that you must look at the well-being of the soldiers, that become a professional service, that they are looked after their best interest. The next two matters that I will raise, two questions, is one on the medical fund for serving members and even those on pensioners already, military pension. We got the indications and the complaints that has really been a flooding to us in terms of the change of that medical fund conditions. Some claim that they have been appointed in terms of a contract, whereas that medical benefit will always be there and it's included in their remuneration. Now it seems like they must pay a specific premium or a shortfall, and many of them said they are not in a position to afford that, especially those on normal pension and on medical pension, or some of that. So that is very important. How do you deal with that, and what is the resolution? And then also MEM. MEM has been a problem. We know that initially MEM was the initial idea with MEM was that we can have a reduction of the cost of employees in the Defence Force. That doesn't seem to be happening. So how do you deal with the MEM complaints and best interests of the soldiers? And obviously then attached to that, what input have you provided to the Minister and the department on addressing National Treasury's call to lower the cost of employees significantly? I mean, you know that we are about 70% of the budget, which doesn't leave enough money for maintenance and upgrades. And then lastly, the Minister has indicated that they are working on a plan to restructure the Defence Force and even to have a replacement of the 2015 Defence Review policy document. Now, clearly, if you act on behalf of the best interests of the soldiers, I suspect that you have been requested to make inputs, or at least from your own accord, because you act in the best interest of the soldiers, that you have provided information in that regard. Can you share with us, in terms of these 5 matters that I've raised, where do we stand and what can we expect from you? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll hand over to some of my other colleagues and people in the Secretariat, but let me first start with your 2 questions, Chairperson. Those visits, we've had, I think, 5 or 6 visits so far already. I think the first one was in July to Infantry School in Oudtshoorn. We then went to KZN, and we visited a naval base. We visited 5 South African Infantry Battalion in Ladysmith. We visited the Joint Tactical Headquarters in Durban, and we went up to Pongola to visit some of the operational areas on the border with the South African border with Eswatini. So, and then we also went to Lohatla, and the last visit we had, I think, was 3 weeks ago. We went to the Warrant Officers Academy in Wonderboom, just north of Pretoria. So all the visits that we had planned for this financial year have ultimately been concluded in this financial year. So there are 5 or 6 of them. Those will obviously be reported in the Annual Activity Report 23-24. The second issue you raise is a very pertinent one around interactions with the Minister. Clearly, as a commission, we've got ideas how we would want to move forward. And we wanted to engage with the minister on these issues. And we've written, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 letters to the office of the minister requesting meetings. We get told that they're being looked at, but we've never had a favorable response from the office of the minister to say, we will meet on this particular date. So in a sense, I'm not answering your question as fully as I should be. Maybe other commissioners and members of the secretariat would want to come in here, but it places the commission in a very difficult spot, because we really seek the advice of the minister. And given the meeting we had in August last year, we found that meeting useful, but we need to engage and really understand the minister's thinking on these issues. So that's an outstanding matter. The issue of the medical fund conditions and the pay premiums, can I ask Mr. Motse and MEM, and the interaction with the National Treasury. Can I ask Mr. Motsepe to first start with that? And if any of the other commissioners want to come in, feel free. But Mr. Motsepe, can you take us through some of those issues, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee. Yeah, this the issue regarding the medical fund, it is related to the regular medical continuation. This issue has been raised with the Commission, and it's a matter that, as part of our continued investigation, that we are busy dealing with, in terms of ensuring that those issues that have been raised by the members of the SADF are actually addressed accordingly. So I cannot be able to give you a conclusive answer, but to say that there is a matter that has been brought to our attention, and then there is one that we are busy investigating. And then when the time is right, after we've collected all the information, then we'll be able to make a sound recommendation that we'll then submit to the minister. And that is even talking through the issue of the contributions that they are required to make at the pensionable age, and for them to receive medical treatment, which is unaffordable in their standards. So that is the answer that I can give with regard to this particular point in time. And the issue of the MEM.
May I just come in here, please? May I suggest, through you, Chairperson, that it might be useful for the committee to request the Regular Force Medical Continuation Fund Board to make a presentation, as our commission is not a member of the board. So it might be useful that they make a presentation to the Joint Standing Committee. Sorry to intervene.
Thank you, Chair. The commission has never received any complaints pertaining to the issues that result from the administration of MEM. Not in a way that we would like to. But the challenge that we have picked up as a commission with regard to the administration of MEM is that those that apply for MEM who in the department are actually the one that the department who want to lose. Mostly the people who are applying for MEM at this particular stage, which is a challenge, is the skillful and the skilled and experienced one who applied, and that is why maybe, and that is one reason. The second reason is that that poses a challenge, is that there seem to be some selective recommendation to the members who have applied for MEM, but we haven't received any formal complaints with regard to those to this particular issue at this particular point in time. So, but it is one of the processes and the matters that we are looking at and then trying to monitor, though we are not yet being given that opportunity to give a direct input in how it can be administered or what kind of contributions we can make as a commission. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Motsepe, have you got, can I ask if Mr. Magubani or any of the commissioners want to talk about our interaction with, or our thoughts about interacting with National Treasury? I don't know who wants to come in.
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Magubani.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members of the committee. Maybe just to also speak on one issue that was asked in terms of the new strategy by the minister. So the DFSC proactively last year in its work session linked its strategic plan to those particular objectives which are set out by the minister. So whatever that we'll be busy with in the next 5 years is aimed at actually making inputs to those issues, as was the question to say, what is it that we've done? Last year we reviewed our strategic plan so that we are in line with what the minister intends doing, so that we can provide relevant and effective advice to her. Then on the issue of, maybe just to also add on the issue of the continuation fund, there are a number of, as Mr. Msipen, the chair, had indicated that we have received that particular complaints around the continuation fund. We have engaged at some point with, at the time it was I think it was the principal officer of the fund. However, there are a number of issues around the medical continuation fund, which we cannot then see it's a single issue that needs to be done. So we are still looking at the different components which actually contributed. For example, the issue of the increase on the premiums had a lot to do with the fact that the continuation fund did not have enough funds. It was facing near collapse, for lack of a better term. So they increased. That was one of the issues which contributed to the increase of the premiums. So on that particular issue, once everything is done, we will report back. But we did receive that particular complaint, and we are looking into it. On the issue of National Treasury, probably one of the commissioners then can comment on that. I just wanted to add on the two issues that were raised. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see two hands from Commissioner Esop and Commissioner Mabilane. I'll start with Commissioner Esop.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm what Mr. Mukabani has said regarding the medical continuation fund. But one of the questions posed was there attempts to engage with Treasury? So from our side, based on our reports last year, so there were certain factors identified, and we as a commission then facilitated or attempted to set up a meeting with Treasury to address some of the issues that we've identified and to bring certain departments and divisions from the DoD in that workshop. Because what we've identified was also there's a lot of outsourcing within SAMS. That's one example. So that meeting was set up as a workshop, but unfortunately it was cancelled. Maybe Mr. Mukamani and or Mr. Motsepe can maybe give some context as to why it was cancelled. So there was engagement from our side. There was meetings in place to facilitate processes to identify areas for improvement as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Esop. Commissioner Mabilane. Mabilane, you are muted. All right. I think there is a connectivity challenge. Mr. Mare, you still want to come back on these two issues? On these two issues, to me they appear to be, they appear to be work in progress. But yeah, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it seems like it's work in progress. Thank you, Chair. If they can maybe, even send us something in writing to see what are their processes that they are busy with, and maybe what kind of proposals they have made, so that we just have that in terms of also our oversight work going forward. What I just want to request from them, they are saying that whatever the minister decides for the next 5 years, they will be busy with. Now, the minister and all of us as MPs only have a couple of months left, and none of us are assured that we will come back, not even the minister. So all I'm requesting is that they must properly noted that and properly have that in reports in terms of what they want to do going forward, because somewhere along the line someone will have to pick it up and say that today we have discussed this, today they have said that they will be keeping busy with that, so that at least whoever will be the minister or committee members in the next term, that they can follow that up. And then, Chair, in terms of the medical continuation fund, I think that's a good suggestion to us as a committee, and that we must maybe see whether we can request them to make a presentation to us in terms of the challenges and the contractual agreements with the members, and how they are resolving those issues as well. Yeah, and the same with MEM and medical, but I mean, so they can then put that in writing to us, just for our record, so that we can put it into our legacy report for the next Parliament to take forward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, maybe let's accept that as the way forward on this matter, so that we keep it under our own radar, not radar. That we get something in writing on those two matters. We're not committing you to any deadline, but just to indicate that you are looking at them. These are the issues, and this is what you plan to deal with them going forward, so that we put it in our legacy report for the new committee in the next Parliament, 7th Parliament, to follow up on it, on those two. Is that agreed?
That's fine. Thank you. That's a good suggestion, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Now, any other comments, colleagues? All right. It doesn't look like there's any other comment on this. It's strange that we did not call you to appear before us in the last in the year under review. I don't know how it happened, but
in terms of the committee, sir. Chair.
Yes, in terms of the committee, yeah.
Yeah, true. Because of the financial implications and budgetary implications, yes, you're quite right.
But we'll need to have another meeting with them when the minister is present. Possibly this one where she would be giving us feedback on her engagement with the two bodies on how to manage a potential conflict in terms of their own mandates. But Mr. Robinson, have you, maybe we saying there's a potential conflict, something it exists only in our mind. I don't know. What is your take on this one?
Chair, I do think we've teased out this issue very much ourselves. and we're clear that there are very distinct roles and responsibilities, both for the Commission and for the Military Bargaining Council.
And
so
there's
I
no
don't see. So are you not talking about that, or you're talking about the Commission as a whole?
No. The body and the union. There is going to be a union in place that will be operating in your space. Remember, the reason for your existence was so that you can deal with issues that some of them would, under normal circumstances, be taken up by a union. Now, we were not encouraging the formation of a union in the Defense Force, and then we thought having a body like this one to attend to those matters, to avoid members of the Defense Force taking it to the streets like it happened. They marched to Parliament, and because they believe that some of their matters, conditions of service, some of which were not receiving the attention that it deserved. So that's a context in which this body arose. And now we have this union now, which is by law is going to take up some of the issues. So we thought there was going to be some, I think that's how it arose. May you want to comment on that?
Sure. From our side, I mean, as I was trying to indicate, we've done a document, maybe we could share it with you. I think we sent it to the Minister, that the roles and responsibilities of the Commission versus the Union / Military Bargaining Council, right? In a sense, they're two sides of the same coin, right?
And complementing
Yes,
each other.
so there's a dialectic, in other words.
Okay.
So they complement each other, right?
Okay.
They're not opposed to each other. But I think that issue needs to be teased out a little bit more, so that there's a common understanding, both what the minister understands, as the Commission understands, and other people understand it in the same way. And I think that's where we miss the interaction with the minister, to get the minister's understanding of how we want to move forward. I've heard the minister speak, right? And it did indicate sometimes that she's, I suppose you have to accept that the union is existing, but deep down, given the fact that she was also chair, she was in your position of the Joint Standing Committee and the Portfolio Committee some years ago, right? So I think she's got an understanding of some of these dynamics that have raised its head now. But from our side, we will want to engage so that when we sit with the minister, that there's a clear understanding of what the Commission is about, and there's no trampling on people's toes and so on. But I think I'm understanding your point. So that's the discussions we need to have. If we would have had our quarterly meetings with the minister, I think we would be much further down the road with understanding each other. But be that as it may, we can try and catch up on that. But and as far as I'm aware, at this point in time, the constitution of the Military Bargaining Council has not been signed by any of the parties. And the chairperson of the Military Bargaining Council is yet to be appointed.
Okay, all right. No, it's fine. Do you want to add, Dr. Esop, before
Yes.
I allow? Okay, please add, and then I will take Honorable Motsamai.
Okay, so what I want to add is, just as the chair said, there are a number of aspects that the DFSC is responsible for, and obviously with the union as well. And there are certain aspects where there are an overlap but the majority of the aspects where the DFSC are involved, there's no direct overlap. There was a presentation prepared as well, both a formal presentation on PowerPoint as well as a Word document. Mr. Mokopane can maybe share that presentation, which demarcates the various roles and responsibilities of the two entities.
No, I'm happy, but of course we still want the minister to come and talk to us on the same issue. And no, thank you very much. At least you're assuring us that there's clear demarcation between the two bodies. If anything, they support, they complement each other. And let me take Mr. Motsomai. Mr. Motsomai.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think this is a very good idea that actually on my side, I support the issue of the union. Soldiers, they must have union. We don't want to see this thing of soldiers doing on the street without having somebody represent them, bring their issue to us or to the department so that they can solve their issues. I mean, it's very important. We need soldiers to have their own union. I thank you.
Okay. No. Okay. That point is noted, Mr. Motsomai. And of course, it's their right. We can't take it away from them. All right, colleagues, I think that then just before we close on this item, is anything you wanted to add, say, in closing, Mr. Robinson?
No, Chair. I'm comfortable. I think we've given you a response to each issue that was raised, and the other issues we're going to document and send to you. You've asked us about that. Basically, the researchers will do that. We'll send those to you. But from my side, I don't know if any other commissioners want to have a last bite before we close. But from my side, no, Chair. I'm comfortable with what we've said so far and how we've responded. Thank you.
Okay. So when must we expect you have conducted visits and some in this new financial year? When must we expect to have the report on the findings?
Mr. Motsepe, have you got some idea? I know that what we need to do is we've also, when we engage, sorry, just to bring you back, Chair, when we last met with the military bargaining, the MCC, Military Command Committee Council, they indicated it would be good before we send recommendations to the minister that we sit with them. So basically, we're going to make a presentation on our findings to the MCC, Military Command Council. I think Mr. Motsepe sent a letter already. Once we've interacted with them to tell them this is what we've done, this is our findings, then the report will be finalized and sent to the minister. Have you got any timeframes, Mr. Motsepe?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chairperson, we outlined some kind of a process that we will be following. The timeframes being as follows: that the information brief that will be given to the MCC will be towards I think the first week of November, because they've got some kind of a timetable of briefings. So they say they can only be able to accommodate us in the first week of November. And subsequent to that, we will then be consolidating the final comprehensive report that we will then submit to the minister in the course of November. By submitting to the minister, that will signify the conclusion of the report, which can then be made available to the honorable selves somewhere between December and January. if I may say so.
Okay. No, it's fine. We would wait because it's critical that this report be processed so that by the time it comes before us, it has received inputs of the relevant parties.
May I just add something quickly, Chair? Sorry for
Yes, sir.
interjecting. This round of visits is what we call follow-up visits, because we have already conducted the first phase of the visit to these units that we have visited. So this was a follow-up. As the chair explained during the beginning of the presentation, that the aim of the follow-up visit is to determine the extent to which the findings and recommendations that we made then, how far has it been progressing as far as implementation is concerned, and then if there were other new challenges, and what challenges did they experience in the course of their implementation or rectification of the findings that we made then. I just wanted to get it up.
No, I'm fine with that, and that is a follow-up visit, and to look at how have the matters raised been attended to by the relevant structures. And of course, we'll file a report. That's a report that would really like to have, because it provides a mirror. You know, we may want to follow up on some of the issues that you would have presented as part of your report. Maybe let's leave it at that for now, and then thank the colleagues from the Defense Service Commission for their presentation. Maybe we'll see you sometime next year if we are given a slot. That will then allow space for this report to be presented. But of course, we'll have a meeting with the minister, at which you'll also be invited. And we said this meeting is next week, but again, it depends on her schedule. She may not be available next week, but she will tell us when she is available, so that we can then have a discussion with her on her feedback. All right, that having been concluded, we thank you. You are now free to exit the platform at any time you want to.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we now have concluded this item. And was this not the last item, or we now have to deal with the minutes? Can we deal with the minutes? The minutes of the 20, how many sets first? Is this the...
This is the only set, Chair.
That's the only set, all right. So this is the meeting of the 21st of September. Thabo will guide me on this one because I was present in the first part of the meeting. All right, first page. Second page, if there are any corrections, colleagues, please indicate. Third page. Fourth page. Fifth page. And the last page, sixth page. Okay. Oh, the soldiers that, oh, I'm raising a different point now. All right, colleagues, thank you very much. So these are the minutes I was commenting just on the accident that happened in Uppington, that these are the soldiers that were en route to Lohatla. Okay. Colleagues, I'm now presenting these minutes. Are they a true record of what transpired in the last meeting, the meeting of the 21st?
I so propose.
Mr. Mare proposes the minutes.
Second.
And Mr. Mafanya seconds. Colleagues, I think I should thank you, and then the meeting is adjourned. Thanks.
Mr. Mafani.